What is up, YouTube? This video may very well be the most important video that I ever put on this channel. So I hope you guys are going to stick around for it. And we're going to talk about the 80-20 rule. And my goal with this video is to teach you how to apply it yourself. I don't want you to have to come running to the Efficient in the Field channel every time you're like, what's the 80-20 of shelter building? Let me go look. You know what I'm saying? I want you to be out there and to be like, what's the 80-20? Okay. I think it's this. That's what I'm going to go with. All right? That's what I want to teach you guys. And what the hell is this 80-20 thing this Efficient in the Field guy is talking about? Well, it is the idea that 20% of what we do produces 80% of the results, and 80% of what we do produces only 20% of the results. Let me give you an example. And my favorite example is probably sweeping the kitchen floor. I know, doesn't sound super exciting. Don't worry, we're going to get into some like bushcrafty skills and survival skills and shit. We're going to talk about those. But sweeping the floor, right? You got a broom. You got a dustpan with one of those little hand brooms. And let's say your kitchen floor has a table and chairs in it and a throw rug in front of the kitchen sink. Well, if you wanted to do the 20% of work that's going to produce 80% of the results, what are you going to do? You know what you're going to do? You're not going to take the throw rug out. You're just going to take the broom and you're going to get in all the corners and you're going to sweep under the chairs and under the table. Much the way a 12-year-old would do it. Right? If you hadn't taught him to remove the chairs, to take the carpet out and shake it out and put it back in the house, make sure you sweep under it first and all that kinds of stuff. Well, by taking this approach, you've saved yourself a lot of time and a lot of calories. Does that matter in the modern day? Not so much, right? You can just hit freaking McDonald's up on your way into work and, supersize it from a medium fry to a large fry and bam. Like you just made up for whatever calories you spent, beating the rug. You know what I mean? But in shit at the fan, it's all going to change. And that's what this channel is about, dudes. It is about a nationwide catastrophe that's going to last for a long period of time. And if, and really when, this goes down, every single calorie that you expend, every single drop of sweat, every single second, all of these things are going to be big, and you don't want to waste them on shit that does not produce results for you. And even prior to that, for a lot of us, our financial resources are finite. We want to be careful with them. We want to spend them in the right place. And our time is finite. You're only going to be on this planet for so long. One of these days, you're going to take the big old dirt nap. And when you find yourself, in the next life, do you want to look back and be like, damn, I wasted so much time and effort on shit that didn't matter? Is that where you want to be? No, it's not where you want to be. So we want to be efficient with everything that we do, right, dudes? That's like if you piss your wife off, do you want to freaking tiptoe around the house for the next 5 days and have to deal with her just sticking it to you? And her reminding you that you said that dumbass thing for the next 10 years, like every 3 months? No, you don't want that to happen. So how do you get results right now? How do you change course right now? What can you say to her? What can you do that is going to produce a different result right now? Enough explaining it. You guys are smart, especially if you've made it into this video for this long. And if you have, make sure you like the video. You're getting good information already, but it's going to get even better. And subscribe to the channel because down the road, I'm going to get into bushcraft and survival skills and the 80-20 of those. Right now, I have a series called Efficient Prepping. Look it up on my page. And I do focus on the 80-20 of a lot of avenues of prepping. Okay, but we're going to get even deeper, dudes. We're going to get deeper. We're going to get into everything from water purification, fire building, shelter building, all that kinds of stuff on this channel. So make sure you subscribe. What we're going to do for the sake of this discussion today is we're going to take fire building. Okay, and we're going to talk about that because it's something that every single one of us is going to have to do in shit hit the fan. That's right, guys. The power is going to go out. The natural gas is going to stop running, and you're going to be cooking cats in your backyard. That's where a lot of us are actually going to find ourselves. People like me that are more prepared, I've got enough propane to last for a number of years before I need to start cooking cats in the backyard. And it won't be cats because there's no damn cats out here except for my own single cat. Fire building, though, let's get back on track. Super, super important skill. First, we're going to talk about the kit. What is the 80-20 of the kit? And I'm going to tell you guys something. You have to look at your own situation because the 80-20 of fire building is going to change based on where you're at and what you have to deal with. Okay? So let's say, for example, you're going to go on a 3-day hunting trip with your homeboys. 3 days, 2 nights. You're going to be out there, hopefully cooking some back straps on the fire and stuff like that. Storm matches. Is that a good piece of kit for you? The ones that come in a little plastic or aluminum container with the strike surface. Usually going to get like 12.5 storm matches in it. Well, I'm willing to say that it is. It's a part of the 20% that could produce 80% of the results because how many fires are you actually going to start? Not that many. And what happens if you get lost and you're waiting for search and rescue to find you? Are 12.5 storm matches enough to get you through that period of time? I'm willing to say that it probably will. They're lightweight. They're not expensive. They burn super freaking hot for a short period of time. Just great. Great for that purpose. Now, if you are in a situation where you are bugging out during shit hit the fan for what may very well turn into years, are storm matches a part of the 20% that produce 80% of the results? No, they aren't, are they? What is? Because that's usually what we talk about on this channel is shit hit the fan. Big shit hit the fan. What is a part of the 20%? Well, in my personal experience and based on where I live now and all the traveling I've done, I'm going to say that a good fat ferro rod is a part of that 20% that's going to produce all those results for you. You can get thousands of fires if you know what you're doing and you've got dry tinder and dry kindling, okay? You can get literally thousands of fires. My fire steel that I have and keep in my haversack is a 1/2 inch thick and 5 inches long. It might outlast me in shit at the fan. It literally could outlast me, okay? So super, super important piece of kit for that. What else is going to be really good? Well, big lighters. That's another great one. Matter of fact, I'm sitting here in my old truck with my Becker BK9. There it is. I just threw my cart of scales on it because I haven't put them on this knife yet. And I'm going to wail on this thing some more this summer. Just because you got to go back through your stuff and use it again. Just because you beat the hell out of it once upon a time doesn't mean it just goes in the closet and you forget about it. Revisit your shit, man. But I have a lighter, a big lighter in here. And this one is almost brand new. It's probably been used a dozen times. I also have one in the Ranger band on my knife on my hip right now as well. If I showed it to you, it'd probably be weird because I'd have to stick my freaking crotch right up in the damn camera, but you get the idea. And I usually have one in my pocket. Bics are cheap. A full-size Bic like the one I just showed you guys will start over 300 fires. I know this because I have one on my entertainment center right next to my wood stove, and it's done 2 full winters, and it still has butane in it. But it's not going to get you 300 fires if you're stupid about your kindling and your tinder, right? Got to make sure that shit's dry. What do you guys think? What's part of the 20% that's going to produce 80% of the results? Is it cotton swabs that are soaked in Vaseline? Probably not, right? Because for the weight, you're only going to get so many fires out of it. Is it wooden stick matches? Probably not, because for the space they take up in the weight, you're just going to get a lot more out of a big lighter, for example. But hit it up in the comments, guys. What do y'all think? Let's talk about the fire building skill. Let's talk about that because this is very important. And if I didn't mention this already in this video, guys, You have to have a baseline of knowledge to start applying the 80-20 rule. Like if you've never built a fire before in your entire life, you're going to look at it and be like, I don't fucking know what the 80-20 is, man. Like, I just don't know because you don't know shit. So you have to have a bit of a baseline of knowledge, and it also helps to have practiced using the 80-20 rule and applying it over and over and over again. If you've applied this in places where well, even in spots where you only have kind of an idea, you might be able to apply it effectively. Okay? So fire building skill. Let's talk about that. One of the places where I see a lot of people fail to get fires going out in the woods is that they did not collect enough kindling and tinder. Just straight up. They didn't get enough. They were lazy about it. They shortchanged themselves. And then they barely get the fire going. And now they're running around like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to throw shit on the fire to keep it going. And if they just would have invested a little bit of additional time and calories right off the bat to make sure they have plenty to get the job done, they're going to be golden. Less running around, less possibility that you're going to snuff your damn fire out with freaking pine needles because you're just throwing them on top hoping they're going to catch. You're going to be more successful that way. And it's not like those calories and that time is wasted. It just means you have more kindling and tinder later to start your next fire. You know what I'm saying? Like it's still there. It wasn't a waste of time. Another place where people struggle is finding dry kindling and tinder. Okay, they just don't know. They haven't been out there when it's really wet, and they haven't practiced the skill, so that's a really big one. A lot of people don't realize you can actually tuck your shirt in your pants and put damp tinder down in your freaking shirt, man, and your body heat over the next few hours will actually dry that out most of the way. Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable. Yeah, your tummy's going to get wet. You might have to pick some debris out of your belly button later before you go night-night in your shelter. But you probably don't give a shit. If you found yourself in this situation, who cares, man? It's more important to get it done and to be effective than it is that my belly button was uncomfortable for 2 hours. You know what I'm saying, guys? Rubbing sticks together to make fire. Is that a part of the 20% that produces 80% of the results? I'm willing to say at this point in time that it is not. It's not a necessary skill when it comes to survival and prepping anymore. And a lot of people are going to be like, I fish in the field. How can you say that? Everyone else is telling me I need to learn how to rub sticks together to make a fire. Well, this land was conquered by people that did not rub sticks together to make fire. We don't need to get into the details of it. It's just the truth. We know that a lot of terrible things happened during that period of this land's history. But it was conquered by people that did not rub sticks together. They had to bring iron with them out into the field and find a rock that would strike a spark. Look around these days. There's iron all over the damn place that will strike a spark, guys. It's everywhere now. I can get out in the national forest and walk around for a few hours, and I can guarantee you I'm going to find some mild steel or something with a heavy iron content I can strike a spark on if I find the right rock. And I know what kind of rocks to look for because I've done it. All right, so rubbing sticks together, nope, not a necessary skill. It could be, I guess, if you live in a place that's super remote and there just hasn't been humans out there for the last few centuries losing shit and dropping stuff out of the back of pickup trucks and all that kinds of stuff. So I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter for everybody. And guys, I've invested time in the skill of making fire with sticks. I have invested time in it. I just don't think that it's a part of the 20% that's going to produce 80% of the results for you when shit hit the fan. Char cloth making. Let's talk about that. Lots of dudes are like, oh, char cloth. It's this big bushcraft thing on YouTube these days. Everyone's got their little tin and they're making their char cloth. Well, does canvas grow on trees? It doesn't, does it? So maybe it would be better to invest time finding out how to make charred wood out of punky wood. Because punky wood is all over the damn place, dudes. It's not hard to find, and it does literally grow on trees. It is literally trees. You can find it anywhere. Yeah, and shit at the fan, there may be like linens and canvases and clothing materials that you can use to turn into char cloth that are laying around because of unfortunate souls that have perished. You might even just find a pair of discarded blue jeans out in the woods because some hunter shit his pants like a year ago and just like wiped his ass with the pants and left them there. What are you going to do if you find those? Well, you're going to turn the freaking leg tubes into some kind of sack, and you're going to take the whole hip area and make char cloth with it, right? Or something else. So in that kind of situation, it makes more sense. But I'd honestly suggest that you focus more on turning punk wood into charred wood as opposed to making char cloth all the time. Carrying a carbon steel knife, to me personally, is a very important piece of fire building kit when it comes to 80/20, and that's because I know what kind of rocks will strike a spark off of a carbon steel knife. I always have a carbon steel knife on me, guys. Always. Becker BK19 right here. That's the way I've done it for a long time, guys. Rocking carbon steel knives, not tool steel. I like a knife I can actually sharpen on a rock if I need to. You know what I mean? That's just how my brain kind of works. But something I can strike a spark on, very, very important. Another real important bit of knowledge when it comes to fire building is how the native population got it done back in the day. A lot of us today have a very colonial mindset. And, we're thinking about bugging out and like, I'm going to have to buck rounds out there with my bow saw and then split them. So I need to bring an axe and I need to bring a bow saw. For what wood stove? For what wood stove? What are you living in out there? Do you have a canvas tent with a wood stove? Because if you do, guess what? Now you do have to spend the time burning additional calories to make sure you're making sticks small enough. But how did the native populations do it? I challenge you to look into it. You know what they did? They didn't cross-cut everything. They didn't chop everything up with axes. Okay, because they did not have steel tools. As a matter of fact, they tended to collect kindling off of the lower parts of trees, dried branches, and burnt those. And then they carried branches that had fallen off of trees over to the damn fire and started on one end and just moved them forward as they burnt. Okay, that's largely how it got done. So that kind of knowledge is going to help you save calories, time, and sweat and all that stuff and shit hit the fan, guys. That's what I mean by focusing on the 80/20. Digging through last night's fire to find hot coals. That's another big one. And I'm going to be honest with you, most people that have been camping out there, they don't think about this at all. No, they basically try to get a brand new fire started the next day, when instead they could just scrape through the fire they had last night that they cooked their dinner on, find some hot coals, put a little bit of air on them, get some kindling, some dry kindling on them, and boom, you have a new fire. And this is why a lot of times I say that my fire steel will outlive me and shit at the fan. Because I know from personal experience and living out in the boonies and cooking on fires day after day after day that I'm only going to start maybe 3-4 fires a month. That's it. The rest of the time I'm going to dig through my coal pile, get some hot embers, get them going. Bam, I have fire again. And what does that mean if you really think about it? If you're going to have to start 4 fires a month and you have a big lighter that will do 300 fires, that's 75 months if you take care of that damn big lighter, man. That's freaking 6 years of fires. Kind of mind-blowing. Because a lot of people don't realize that that's how it's going to be. If you're in one place. If you're on the move, now you're starting a fire every single day, every single night, or you're not. Right? Because operational security demands that you do not start a fire. And you really don't want to be on the road and shit at the fan, guys. Refugees always have a hard time of it. Go look through the history of the world, man. There's no place where refugees are just living an awesome life. They have to settle an area and stop being refugees for things to get good for them. What kind of natural fire building materials burn really, really good? This is another part of that 20% that produces the 80% of results, guys. Do you have fatwood in your area? If you do, let me tell you this. When you learn how easy it is to find that shit, it is an absolute game changer. Game changer, man. There's stuff that comes along, knowledge and tools, and that are totally game changers, man. You know, you're just like, damn, shit will never be the same for me ever again. Fatwood for me was an absolute game changer when I found out how easy it was to get it. Okay? So I definitely look into that if you have it in your area. I'll do a video for y'all. I'll put it on my list. Another one was dried out cow patties. I once upon a time found myself in a place where there was no firewood to be seen, but there was a ridiculous amount of dry cow patties out there, and I got it going good and hot fire with dry cow patties. This is the kind of knowledge that's going to allow you to be way more resourceful and shit hit the fan. And to learn it, you need to get out there and do it. And 2, you need to make sure you're not watching channels that are run by apocalypse ninjas. Some dude that started a channel like, oh, I can do a channel about this, and 3 months in, realized he was in way over his head and just has to run his mouth to produce new content and doesn't really have any good new information for you. So be careful about those people. I'll probably do a video about them in the near future. That's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it right there. I think you guys get the idea, just talking about fire building. And what did we see? There's a good teachable moment here in this video, and that was that I spent a lot less time talking about kit than I did talking about knowledge. And why is that? That's because the knowledge is the 20% that's really going to produce the 80% of results for you and shit hit the fan. Like the video, share it with someone that's going to learn something about 80-20. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm going to cover a lot more 80-20 shit down the road. You're going to want to be there for it. Check out my Patreon link in the description. If you like what I'm doing, it'd be a great way to support the channel. And as a matter of fact, I'm doing this video because a patron requested that I get more into the 80-20 and explain it so that he can apply it more. And this one's for him. All right? That's it, guys. I'll see you all in the next video.